All right, close your eyes for a second. Rain hitting the pavement, streetlights flickering, jazz echoing through an alley that smells like smoke and bad decisions. Now imagine Spider-Man in that world. Not cracking jokes, not pulling punches, but tired, hurt, carrying the weight of every mistake he's ever made.
Yeah, this isn't your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man swinging through the sunshine. This is trench coats, bruised knuckles, blood on the collar, and secrets that never stay buried. The kind of Spider-Man who doesn't save the city because he wants to, but because he feels like he has to.
Today we're breaking down what to expect from Spider-Noir, why this project might be the boldest Spider-Man project ever attempted.
And of course, we're going to be talking about the theories that could completely change how Sony handles Spider-Man and the rest of the Spider-Verse going forward.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think we should. But what is going on, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Zach.
And this is the NitPickCentral podcast, where we break down movies, TV, and everything happening in fandom culture and pop culture in general. But, Zach, how are we doing today?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm pretty pumped for what we're about to dive into tonight.
Yeah, same here. Especially after seeing that trailer the other day. Like, I feel like the internet I don't think it necessarily broke, but I think it definitely took the internet by storm. I would definitely say that.
I think it definitely caught everybody off guard and kind of held the internet in kind of a chokehold, if I'm going to be honest with you, because it's been out at the time. Listen, at the time of this recording, the Spider-Noir trailer has been out for what, a week?
Oh, something like that. A week, almost 2 weeks, I think.
And I'm still thinking about it. Like, I'm pumped for that. I'm very interested to see what they are doing with that, if that makes any sense.
Same. No, definitely same. Because, like, I mean, even when it plays on, like, a random YouTube video or a TikTok ad or whatever it is, even though I've already seen it multiple times, I'm still tuning in and I watch the whole thing pretty much. Like, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be great.
Same here. And, like, to any of our viewers that have not seen the trailer yet, obviously go watch the trailer and come back and finish this episode. I would do it, like, timestamp it right now wherever you are. Pause. All right, welcome back. So today we're diving into Spider-Noir, the upcoming series headed to Amazon Prime Video. Obviously, it's dropping May 27th. That's literally this summer, right around the corner. What are we thinking about this Spider-Man, Andrew? I think this is going to be a very different take on Spider-Man.
Yeah, so right off the bat, we're just going to clear this up. Of course, this is a live-action Marvel event series, and, it's being done by Amazon Prime, like you just said, and I just think that's super interesting because I feel like Amazon Prime has just become this melting pot of just IP in general, because I mean, even just I think it was last year, they had like that Batman the Caped Crusader animated show that's like a spiritual successor to Batman the animated series. So we got that. And then of course, we have something like Invincible and The Boys playing on there, but now we have Spider-Noir. I feel like a live action Spider-Man show has been kind of low-key just creeping in the background, like it's kind of been in the back of our minds, like, yeah, that would be kind of cool, but we never really knew what that kind of thing would look like. But now that we do, I think it looks great. I'm very, very excited. But I think I am too. I think the thing I'm most excited for, though, is just how different it is from everything we've seen from live action Spider-Man already, especially when it comes to the tone, because if you know anything about film noir, it's very dark, it's very kind of depressing, for lack of a better word, but it plays into that sort of style, especially with the black and white. And I think it's cool that not only are we getting the black and white version of this show, but we're also getting a version of it in color, which is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, Exactly. Like, this isn't a coming of age Spider-Man story. This isn't like all the multiversal chaos stuff that's going on in the MCU right now. This is literally Spider-Man after the damage is done.
Yeah.
Very curious about what that's going to look like.
Yeah, and it's curious too because, you know, of course, as fans, we're referencing him as Spider-Man, but of course, the show stars Nicolas Cage, and interesting enough, he's not playing Peter Parker, which, if you know classic noir, or classic Spider-Noir, it is Peter Parker who is that version of the character set in the 1930s. But for this show, they're having a different twist on it, and he's actually going to be Ben Reilly. And for any Spider-Man fan out there, that name holds a lot of weight because
yes, it does.
Ben Reilly, of course, for those who don't know, was part of the infamous Clone Saga in the comics, and for all my Spider-Man fans out there, even just mentioning that probably just sent a shiver down your spine because that is one of the most controversial comic book lines, let alone Spider-Man comic book lines that Marvel's ever released. But I think the main reasoning behind why they're pinning him as Ben Reilly and not Peter Parker is because of the whole deal that Sony has with Marvel at the moment. You know, I think that whole thing just kind of throws a wrench into everything. It just makes things like this so complicated.
Yeah, I think so too, but that's Sony for you. They've always gonna have their rubby little hands and everything.
Yeah,
but
that is so true. And along with that, you know, like, not only is he named Ben Reilly, but he's not even known as Spider-Man as far as we can tell. I mean, maybe that's a moniker or name that he picks up later on in the show, like maybe towards the finale. But as far as we know right now, he's just named the Spider in the show, which I think is going to be very interesting to see what they do with that.
yeah, same here. Like, I don't know how the show is going to set it up, but from what it looks like, we're just going to be skipping right over the origin and jumping like straight into the story.
Yeah, it's
so I'm curious to see what that layup is going to look like.
Right. Because, I mean, at this point, we've had 3 iterations of live-action Spider-Man, and now, of course, we have the animated version of Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse movies with Miles Morales.
Yeah.
And they are very much doing their own thing when it comes to a Spider-Man origin story, because, I mean, that's a whole other can of worms that we'll get into some other time. But for this particular version of the character, you know, this is seemingly a Spider-Man who has already lost. He's already failed, and now he's just trying to survive in a city that never really forgave him. Like, that's kind of the vibe that I'm picking up. And, you know, he seems like the kind of guy who's already been through it a lot. You know, he's a very seasoned detective at this point, and it's just going to be interesting to see that side of the character in this sense, because I feel like a lot of the time when it comes to Spider-Man media, it takes like the action and the romance and the relationship kind of dynamic gets played out more and like a whole mystery aspect. I don't think we've ever really seen that sort of thing, if that makes sense.
I don't think so. Yeah, that'd be very interesting to see. Anybody that is outside, so me and Andrew, just a little update, we are Marvel nerds at heart. We could geek out about this stuff all day, but for anybody that is just now tapping into either NitPickCentral or anything Spider-Man related, Amazon Prime obviously been cooking. This commercial ad that they dropped for, or I guess I should say trailer for this series, looks amazing. But for anybody that doesn't know what the Spider-Man noir like IP is all about, this series alone takes place in 1930s New York, which is basically the setting for noir, organized crime, corruption in every institution, and a city that chews up its heroes and spits them out. That's basically the main description of the entire show. What do we think about that? I've also heard the theory getting tossed around that this universe has no heroes besides Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be interesting, especially given the time period. Because like, at least for me, and probably for many of you out there, I'm honestly not too familiar with the Spider-Man Noir comics, but I am very familiar with his depictions and, things like Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions and things of that nature.
Yes,
that is a very formative video game for me. I could literally probably play that game in my sleep at this point. I played it so many times. But it was so interesting because, of course, the black and white obviously not only fits in with the show that we're going to watch, but like in pretty much every iteration of the character, the black and white aesthetic remains there and plays into the story and plays into the artwork, depending on what medium it's in, whether it's comics or video games, TV, because he's appeared in different episodes of, I think it's Ultimate Spider-Man that they had on Disney Plus, or not Disney Plus, well, I mean, it's on Disney Plus, but premiered on like Disney XD back in the day.
Oh yeah,
I think it's going to be very, very interesting because, again, like, it's just a setting that we don't see a lot in comics, or at least live action comic book media. And of course, it's going to be far and away different from anything we've seen in the Spider-Man movies. Everything's either taken place in the time that the movie released. For Tobey's movies, it was the early to mid 2000s, and for Andrew's movies, it was the early to mid 2010s, and for Tom Holland's take on the character, it was the late 2010s to the early 2020s. Like, it's very of the times. And them being bold enough to take this in a direction where they're throwing it all the way back to the 1930s, like, I guess my biggest takeaway is how they're going to handle his powers, because obviously, from what we've seen so far, he's got the agility, he's got the strength, he's got the speed, the durability, and we've also seen some swinging scenes. And I don't know about you, I'll definitely want your take on this. I think the swinging looks great so far. What's your take on that?
I think the swinging looks great too. The only nitpick I have is in color. Obviously it looks good, but in black and white, those scenes that we saw in the trailer in black and white. I don't know if you saw the black and white trailer.
Oh yeah.
Because they also released 2 different trailers as well.
Yeah.
But the black and white trailer with him swinging, chef's kiss. Like, that was perfect.
And don't get me wrong, I love the fact that we're getting 2 different versions, because like, at the end of the day, they're just giving people more choice. But I do think that there is something to say about how the fact that they felt the need to make 2 different versions, like they probably were going to get a lot of flack for it being in black and white, which is kind of a shame, because I just feel like that aesthetic just doesn't really get seen very often anymore, especially in superhero media. Like, at least to me, I feel like the last time that I saw anything like that, it was in the episode 4 Wonder Man, the live action MCU show that's come out here recently. And even further than that back, it was in the Werewolf by Night special that they released for Halloween, I think in 2022.
Oh yeah.
They released that in black and white at first, but I think like 6 months or maybe a whole year later, for the next Halloween, they released another version of it in color. So, like I said, I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. I just think it's like, we can't let this thing be its own kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's like its own like specialized thing, like, I mean, I don't mind giving people choices at the end of the day on how they want to watch something, but I don't know, I just feel like it would be a lot more authentic if there was just the one version in black and white, because it really just stays true to the aesthetic that they're going for. And I'm sure the in color version is going to be great, but I'm definitely going to be watching the first, like my first watch through of the show is going to be with the black and white version. But what about you?
Oh, to me, atmosphere is everything here. Like the shadows, the silence, long stares, all of that matters to me. Plus, I know you said earlier that you're not really into the like Spider-Man Noir IP or haven't really tapped into it too much, but the shadow aspect of it being in black and white, imagine like Batman using the shadows to his advantage. That's exactly what Spider-Man does, but imagine Spider-Man lurking in the shadows. Nah, if I was a criminal, no way. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm excited to see if they do that in black and white. Obviously they'll have to, the cinematography is going to have to be pretty skillful if they did it in color too, because if they have Nicolas Cage of all people lurking in the shadows in a trench coat to attack a criminal in black and white, you can get away with a lot, but in color, as long as they can pull it off, I'm down for it. You know what I mean?
No, very much so. I think it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how the differences are. Like, I just wonder like how drastic the versions are going to be. Like, is the in color version going to have like different editing or maybe different looking scenes altogether, or did they film it with the idea that there's also going to be an in color version of it? So I just wonder if they had the foresight to think about that and just how the in color version is going to look like, because if it plays differently or if it views differently than how the black and white version goes, then I feel like it would just be a waste of time and redundancy at the end of the day. But again, this is all just us speculating. Of course, we have no idea what it looks like as of right now other than the trailers that we've seen. But I do like the idea that they're giving people more choice. And I do think it's kind of clever with how they're doing the marketing, because I remember the day before it dropped, like seeing their tweet, like they had literally like two different pictures side to side, and like they were basically the same picture but inverted, and one was in black and white but one was in color. So I do like the idea. I do. I'm just worried about the execution more than anything.
So am I. That's kind of what's got me a little worried, but I have faith because I don't know. It's just the boldness of what they've got going here. Like, they're definitely not afraid to show it in either or, because they've released both trailers now, one in black and white and one in color. And if we get any more trailers, which I'm sure we will before the show drops, I'm sure they're going to drop it in the same format in black and white and in color. So with that being said, I'm very interested to see what they got going on. But for any of our listeners as of right now, I know I said the show drops May 27th on Amazon Prime, but shameless plug, if you have MGM Plus, you can watch it May 25th, 2026. That's 2 days early. Didn't know if y'all knew that, but you do now. So if you have MGM Plus, you're lucky. Just say that, because I don't have MGM Plus. So
neither do I. I think there's a whole controversy going on with MGM and the James Bond estate. Wildly enough,
pretty sure
they just don't know what to do with them as of right now. So I think that's just kind of wild. But I don't know about you, but I think that kind of rollout just screams confidence in the show.
That's what I'm thinking too. That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
They're very confident in what they have, and when it comes to releasing new TV shows and movies and things like that, especially on streaming, I feel like these days the binge model, it's definitely valid. Obviously Netflix pioneered it, but as time has gone on, times have changed, and just viewing habits have changed. And when it comes to the confidence level of the creators and the distributors when it comes to their programming, I feel like it's either one of two things when you decide to drop all the episodes at once, like how they're doing with Spider-Noir. They either are super confident in it and they feel like it's best viewed in the binge model, just trying to watch all the episodes consecutively in one sitting kind of thing as much as possible.
Yeah.
Or number two, they have absolutely zero confidence in it and they just want to drop it, get it out there so they don't have to worry about it because they're literally contractually obligated to put it out.
And there are shows like that out there. There are shows like that.
Oh yeah.
One just off the dome, completely different IP, The Acolyte.
Oh Lord.
Or Secret Invasion on top of that. Just some examples that throw out there.
The binge model can be great, but like for me, I do prefer the week by week kind of drip feeding sort of content drops that there are, or like the release schedule that certain shows have. But at the same time, I also feel like that can be a detriment to a show, especially if it's not good.
Yeah.
Because all you're going to have for like a month, almost 2 months straight, if you're doing a week by week release, is people just saying how bad your show is. And so it's a real fine line they have to drop, or they have to walk. But for me, like I said, just based off the trailer, I am excited, and I feel like that, like how you were saying with the release rollout that they have going on, I think they're very confident in what they have, and honestly they should, because with the story beats that we were able to pick up from the trailer as of this point, I think we're going to be in for a treat. And so, like how Zach was saying earlier, it's going to be taking place in the 1930s New York, and it's just going to be, it's almost going to have like a Gotham City sort of vibe. That's kind of the mentality that I'm going in as of this moment. It's not going to be one of those cases where it's, kind of like a happy-go-lucky thing and then the bad things happen. It's going to be, oh, well, this is a seasoned hero at this point. This is a seasoned detective. And, this version of Ben Reilly, he's walked away from the mask after a personal tragedy, and we don't know exactly what that is yet, but knowing noir storytelling, it's probably something that he blames himself for, if that makes sense.
Well, and then of course, one case has to drag him back in, you know what I mean?
Right. Like this isn't going to be your standard, the hero is going to be stopping a supervillain for the sake of saving the world, like it's going to be one of those cases where, that's going to be kind of on the back burner, I feel. I mean, I feel like we've seen a decent amount of villains in the trailer that we got to see. There's Sandman, Molten Man, a couple other ones that I'm blanking on right now. But at the end of the day, this is a noir story, and it's going to be centered around a mystery. But at the same time, though, that mystery is usually just a vehicle. You know what I mean by when I say that?
Yeah, like the real story here is guilt, like regret, moral compromise, and whether redemption is even possible for somebody who's already crossed too many lines like Ben Reilly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because, I mean, at this point, like we've said multiple times, he seems to be a seasoned hero, a seasoned detective. But until now, obviously, we have no idea what this is going to entail. But it just has that vibe. And, the fact that we're able to pull all of this just from one trailer, I think speaks volumes as to the depth that they're going to go.
Yeah.
And as of right now, I feel like it has less of a superhero show vibe and more of like a Chinatown or LA Confidential, just with webs and a mask hanging around in his closet,
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely got the same vibes from that, for sure.
So I just think it's going to be super interesting. But all of that being said, to kind of go into our speculation about this, Zach, go ahead and just hit me with a theory or two about, what you're most excited for, or like what your biggest questions were after watching the trailer.
Okay, so let's just jump right into one that I kind of threw out there at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
In this universe, I do not think there's any other heroes. I don't think the Avengers exist in this universe. I don't think anybody but well, I guess I should be saying Spider-Noir exists in this universe, but yeah, what do we think about that? Is it really just going to be Spider-Man in this show, or do you think we're going to see some other 1930s-esque superheroes? Like, what if we see an Iron Man? That'd be kind of cool. I doubt it, but what if we did? You know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, even like just trying to picture that, like a 1930s, like
it's like all
run of the mill
and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could not have said it better myself. That's exactly where I was going. I think that would look really cool.
I think that would look cool too.
Whether or not we get that though, I really don't know. I feel like this show will almost serve as a proof of concept. You know, like
yeah.
I feel like if this show works and they execute it right, I feel like maybe another 5-10 years from now, maybe sooner depending on what happens, we might just see another Spider-Man, like a live action Spider-Man show, but maybe a little bit more current, you know, like maybe that's how they introduce Miles Morales into live action, you know, like he'll go from animated movies to live action high production TV show.
Now see, that would be cool.
You know, to get back to your theory though, I don't think we're gonna have any necessarily connections to a wider universe, or you know, a universe that's populated with other heroes or villains that are not related to Spider-Man. But at the end of the day, when has Spider-Man ever really stayed in one lane? You know, like I feel like he's just kind of everywhere at this point.
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
That's not me complaining by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I will take Spider-Man in any way, shape, or form as long as it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, you just gotta wonder. You know, like I said, if they're just really testing the waters with this show, and like at the end of the day, I just hope that it's good, and I just hope that it does show them that they are, or it does display that having Spider-Man not only be on the big screens, you know, like in theaters for, you know, like Spider-Man No Way Home and now Brand New Day coming out later this year. Like I said, I just think it would be really cool to have like a live action Spider-Man show that's a little bit more current and just takes things on a different angle. Because I remember watching I forgot exactly who the YouTuber is, and if I remember it, I will definitely try to link it somewhere. But he basically just kind of laid out his own version of what a college trilogy would look like for Spider-Man, and like what a TV show Spider-Man series would look like. I think he made it, like the video I was watching on YouTube, the creator made it like a good, like I think 5 or 6 seasons worth of Spider-Man TV, you know, like a good like 8 to 10 episode format sort of thing, like how most shows are now these days.
Yeah,
I think that would be super sick.
I'd be down for that.
But oh yeah, no, I would take that any day of the week. But what was another theory that you had?
So based off of the trailer, there's been a theory going around that the mask was never truly retired, and what I mean by that is, like, we're told Ben Reilly walked away from being Spider-Man, but I don't think so. I don't think that's the full truth at all. What do you think about that?
Yeah, like I just think it's going to be interesting to see how they balance the, you know, grounded, gritty, and super serious, like, noir detective mystery story, along with the super heroics and, you know, mixing in combat when it comes to, you know, his agility and his extra strength, and of course the webs, you know, like I feel like that's something that we've never really gotten to see in terms of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like in more recent memory. Like I feel like the most creative we've ever seen Tom when it comes to incorporating his web shooters into his combat wasn't until his very last movie as of right now, No Way Home.
Yeah.
Where he was, webbing up like a bench and throwing it at Norman Osborn during the apartment fight, or in the very end when they're fighting on the collapsed Statue of Liberty and they're fighting on the shield, and he does that move where he jumps up and webs the ground, yanks himself down, and does a slam move. Like, I thought all that was super sick. And so if they can do more of that in this sort of show, I think that would be really cool. And I mean, you have to imagine too, I'm sure it's going to be Nicolas Cage under the mask probably like 80-90% of the time. But if we're keeping it $1.50 here, Nicolas Cage ain't no spring chicken.
Definitely not.
So, I mean, he's going to have a stunt double under the mask at some points for some action scenes. And so I just really hope they take the liberty that they need to and just go all out with the combat. Just be as creative as possible, incorporate the environment, incorporate the web shooters like I was saying, like even just playing the Spider-Man video game, at least when I play it, like I feel like I'm bouncing around everywhere, like I'm bouncing off the walls, I'm jumping up, and I'm, I mean, obviously it's video game physics, but I'm jumping up in the air and I'm doing air combos and I'm bouncing off of thugs and I'm, ping-ponging between like 2 or 3 different enemies just to stick on the wall, jet off the wall and punch someone like that. Like, I mean, you just have to be creative at the end of the day, and I just hope they really capitalize on that. And I just feel like that would be a good almost appetizer for what we're going to be getting for Brand New Day later in the summer.
Very true.
Because we said that this drops in late May, like May 25th and May 27th. And if this is going to be the 8 episodes, that's going to lead us right into the end of June, early July. So Brand New Day is going to be right around the corner. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure, and for people who don't know, the creator of Spider-Man Brand New Day is Destin Daniel Cretton, who also made Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, also in the MCU, and that's some of the best hand-to-hand fighting that we've ever seen in the MCU, either ever, or is at least on par with that of, like, Captain America the Winter Soldier.
Captain America the Winter Soldier, I've always thought the choreograph like fighting scenes were top notch, but yeah, Shang-Chi definitely kind of blew that movie out of the water in my opinion. The bus scene in particular is what comes to mind.
Yes.
Every time I watch that movie, that's just awesome to me.
Were there any other theories that you had on the mind, Zach?
Actually, I got one more for you. So you kind of brought it up earlier. You couldn't technically remember off the top of your dome how many villains, I guess you could say, were in this movie. So we've got Sandman, we've got, was it Absorbing Man or Molten Man? I think it's Molten Man.
Yeah, Molten Man.
We got Molten Man, we got Electro. And
Yep.
then some fans have speculated that there's 2 more villains in this. So we've seen there's a guy that looks very deformed in this. I want to say it's one of Spider-Noir's kind of like deities. If you ever follow along with the Spider-Man Noir comics, he's got like I don't know what you call it, but it's like an object that speaks to him, essentially gives him power and
like
stuff
a totem.
like totem. There you go. That's exactly what I was looking for. And when it manifests itself into a kind of like a humanoid spider to talk to him, that's kind of what it looks like in the trailer with that deformed guy. But yeah, I could be very wrong. Some fans have also speculated that could be this universe's Vulture, which I think would be wild if we saw that.
Dude.
And then some fans have also speculated there's a blink and you miss it moment, but there's a overhead shot of an alley scene with a guy that is bright white and black, and if that is who I think it is, then I think we will also be seeing Mr. Negative in this show as well.
Ooh, yeah, okay. Dude, I would be down for any one of these villains, but if I'm being honest, if there's any one in particular that I would love to see, would definitely be Vulture, because I don't know how familiar you are with the Spider-Man Noir comic origin. And I mean, this is me not having much knowledge of it myself, but what I do know, and granted, my knowledge is from the Shattered Dimensions video game and reading like the text, like info little excerpts they have, and like when you go into select like your alternate suit options in the game, and I would go from there, and like they would tag in the comic that the suit first appeared in, and like I have no idea why they do not do that in the modern Spider-Man games. I've been begging for that sort of thing because I just feel like that would help people get more into comics if they include the comic that the alternate suit first appeared in. But let me get off my pedestal there. But yeah, I would definitely like to see Vulture, because, and potentially spoiler warning for anyone watching or planning to watch Spider-Man Noir, but funny thing about Vulture, this Spider-Man is very much not a fan of him, specifically because Vulture eats Uncle Ben.
See, that's what I kind of figured you were going in that direction. I've heard that story around when it comes to Spider-Noir. Mm-hmm. Like I've definitely heard different depictions of said story, but they all end with that, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
So
yep.
Yeah, that if Vulture is in this show, I mean, makes sense why we haven't seen Ben Reilly at all in the trailer, or Uncle Ben at all in the trailer.
Mm-hmm. You know, it kind of goes into the whole Across the Spider-Verse movie, you know, how this is a part of every Spider's story every time, you know, with the canon events. And for this version, you know, his canon event is Vulture eating his uncle, which is just crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But I think it would be super sick if they go the extra mile. And I mean, obviously we're probably not going to see that, like, you know, on the screen, but you know, if they can pretty much say that that's what's happening or that's what happened, I think that would be really interesting and bold for them to take. Like, I hope that they stick to their guns and run with that. I think that would be cool.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this show. I think it's going to be a banger. I'm really excited. But Zach, is there anything else that you were wanting to cover or talk about real quick?
I think I've pretty well covered everything that I'm excited for. I think Spider-Noir looks interesting, to say the least. It's definitely different, but like in a weird good way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited for it. Like I'm ready for it to drop any day now.
Same here. Like, it just feels like one of those projects where even if it doesn't land for everyone, I think it's still going to be worth checking out.
For sure. Obviously, we'll be watching and taking care as much stuff drops. You know, we're going to be there on the scene constantly. We're probably going to do a review on almost every episode.
Oh, yeah.
If we're going to be so honest with you. But definitely be ready to check out or taking a gander at when we watch this, because God, I'm so excited for this show.
Same here, and like I said, I feel like this is going to be the perfect appetizer for the meal that is going to be Spider-Man Brand New Day. But, you know, like Zach was saying, we're going to be there breaking everything down, arguing about it, overthinking the usual, you know, what we do here. But yeah, I think that pretty much just about wraps up this episode.
I think so too. So seriously, to everybody listening, thank you guys for tuning into the Nitpick Central podcast.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to follow the show, and share it with a friend. Anybody and everybody is welcome at the Nitpick Central podcast.
Yes. Whether you are anything that could possibly breathe air, you are more than welcome on our platform and on our show. So feel free to tune in, and of course, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We got more episodes and more theories coming soon.
And until next time,
we'll be watching.